What's going on, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dial, on FM and 790 AM. Also available online, straight up, Sports Talk 105.1 or on your Google and Alexa home devices. Also, the app and the video stream up and rolling, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It is a weekend hangover edition of the DK show. So grab some caffeine and let's get this thing going here. Super Bowl is in the books, and I think after last night's game and how long it went, OT all the way down to the final couple seconds of OT. Come on now, NFL. Get a little public, get a little positive PR thing, and let's move this darn game to a Saturday. You know what I mean? So, nonetheless, Kansas City Chiefs with the walk-off touchdown in overtime to secure their back-to-back championship. First time since the 03-04 New England Patriots seasons that we've got a back-to-back Super Bowl champ. Chiefs' third Super Bowl in the last 5 years as well. So, again, what else can you say about this Chiefs team? What else can you say about Patrick Mahomes? And I think, my opinion, just my opinion, but I think, I know he's getting a lot of, Mahomes is getting a lot of love and attention and flowers and praise and all that sort of stuff, which rightfully so. Not disagreeing with it. Let's start to put Andy Reid into that conversation about one of the best head coaches in NFL history of all time. I can't think off the top of my head, and I know I'm only riding maybe about a couple hours of sleep right here because I can't go to sleep right after that game. But that's why I need some caffeine here this morning. But anyways, I can't think of another coach who, during his time in Philly, went to one Super Bowl, lost that to the Patriots. It was, that 04 Patriots team there. And when his career was done in New England, in Philly, wasn't a Hall of Famer, wasn't going to be a Hall of Fame coach, wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame, and goes to Kansas City and really kind of changes the story, changes his legacy, goes to the Super Bowl 4 times, wins it 3 times, and instantly turned the story of his career. When he starts in Kansas City, he's not a Hall of Fame coach, really good coach, but he's probably got the tag of one of the best to not have a title. And then all of a sudden he's got 3 titles. He's gone 4 times, gets 3 of them. And I think now you got to put him in the equation of top 10 head coaches of all time. Joins an elite company right now. Very, very small company with at least 3 or more Super Bowl titles. So rightfully so, Patrick Mahomes gets a lot of credit, gets a lot of attention, gets a lot of love. But I think, just my opinion, but I think got to give Andy Reid some of that fanfare over there too. So, we'll talk some Super Bowl coming up here in just a little bit. But your thoughts on the game? That texting line's always up and rolling. You can hit us up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line 715-830-1912. I will just say this. It is now 363 days away until Jordan Love hoists the Lombardi Trophy down in New Orleans. There, I said it. I'm already on record. So 363 more days. So we got some football to chat about here. Hoops. Oh, what is going on with the Badgers? I mean, what in the world? 78-56 loss to Rutgers on Saturday. 4 losses in a row. This team, what is going on with them? Did we give them the kiss of death? Like a little over a week ago, saying, hey, basketball's fun right now. You got to be paying attention to this Badger team, number 6 in the country. We're thinking, hey, they take care of business against Nebraska and somehow, maybe upset Purdue at home. They could be a top 3 team in the country and a 1 seed. Completely deflated. 16-8. I have no idea where they're going to come out in the latest rankings right now. But they got to get themselves out of this little funk that they're in, because you've got a month left of the regular season here. You got to start to figure some stuff out. You got Ohio State coming to your building tomorrow. Now, Ohio State's also struggling, but given how Wisconsin's been playing, can you feel confident about any game right now? You got 7 more games left to go here in the regular season before the conference tournament. Ohio State, Iowa, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, Rutgers, Purdue. It's probably a couple. Let's face it. There's probably at least a couple more losses on that schedule, and you're talking about 10, at least maybe 10 losses now on the regular season. But you want to talk about a complete change in direction, course of direction here. Good Lord. What is going on with this Badger Hoops team? So we'll hit that up, talk a little hoops. Marquette did pick up a win against St. John's, so they're kind of continuing to do their thing over there. They're rolling, so we'll see where the latest rankings come out later on today. But expect Badgers to drop down big time. Big time. Don't think they'll get out of the top 25, but whew, it ain't looking good right now for Wisconsin. No doubt about it. Speaking of hoops, a little bit more closer to home here. Blue Gold women's basketball team falling to their rivals Stout, but the men's team picked up the victory against Stout over the weekend, as we are getting closer to some postseason action, wrapping up the regular season for the WIAC over here too. Men's hockey, they earned the second seed in the WIAC tournament for the Blue Golds. So got that as we start to get closer and closer to some postseason play here. Swimming and diving's got the WIAC championships coming up this weekend too. So, or I should say, coming up in just a couple days on Wednesday. So, yeah, we're getting close to this postseason action here. Wrestling WIAC championships coming up this weekend. So, and sticking with hoops too, the girls basketball, high school girls basketball brackets coming out. Kind of looking around the immediate listening area here. We've got Eau Claire Memorial and D1 getting a 4 seed, Chaya High getting a 16 seed, North 15 seed. Division 2, Menominee picking up a 1 seed. They face the winner of Wausau East and River Falls. Rice Lake earns a 3 seed. And they will host either New Richmond or my Medford Raiders. D3, Baldwin Woodville gets a 1. They will play the winner of either Bloomer or Northwestern. Elk Mound getting a 1 seed. Altoona is a number 3 seed. They will face either Black River Falls or Mauston. Division 4, Fall Creek, 1 seed. They will play either Boyceville or Unity. Then Colfax is a 5. Regis is a number 3. They will face either Cumberland or Shell Lake. Durand, Arkansas is a 2. They will face either Augusta or Mondovi. McDonald Central is a 1. Cameron is a number 3. They will face Shawamigan or Cadott. And Neelsville is a number 1 seed. 2 and D5. We've got Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran is a 7 seed. So that the tournament begins next week. Or I should say the postseason begins next week for girls basketball, but the boys will finish up some of their games this week and into next week here too. But we'll know their seedings coming up this coming weekend here. But North with a big victory in boys high school basketball against Memorial too. But we'll get the latest from the expert himself, J.C. Nisi, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire for WEAU 13 News, when we catch up with him a little bit later on this morning. So we'll hit that up, and busy time for him and our good buddy Brandenburg. I know we got wrestling that's also in the postseason here too. So a bunch of stuff. We'll let the experts catch up, and I should say recap and preview for us on our local sports roundup coming up a little bit later on this morning, just past 8 o'clock. So we got that. Bucks are going to be back in action tonight, taking on the Denver Nuggets. The Bucks finally picking up a victory last Friday against Charlotte. So, still no Chris Middleton. Damian Lillard did return to the lineup for the Bucks in that game, but as Doc Rivers said, it's kind of a bad ankle sprain for Chris Middleton. Honestly, at this point in time, I'd kind of be shocked if he returned before the All-Star break. At this point in time, but got a couple tough stretches here for the Bucks with Denver in town tonight, and then tomorrow night it's back to back. You got Miami. And then you hit the road for a quick game against Memphis, have a couple days off. Then you're home against Indy on Sunday. And then you got the All-Star break coming up here. It's already coming at you. So, but right now the Bucks 7 games back from the Boston Celtics for first place in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee holding on to that 3 spot in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland at number 2. They continue to just roll 9 wins in a row right now for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Bucks are 2 back from Cleveland for that second spot. Meanwhile, Minnesota Timberwolves still holding on to the 1 spot in the Western Conference over there. Half game over the Clippers and the Thunder and the Nuggets. That's how tight this race is at the top of the Western standings. Minnesota half game over 3 other teams right now, and they've got a big game. Timberwolves big game tonight, going up against the Clippers. Wow, you want to talk about a big time game right now? Woo-hoo, that's going to be a fun one. So we'll throw some hoops chat in here too. You got a couple of decent games coming up here. I mean, Milwaukee and Denver's a good one. Minnesota and the Clippers a good one. So, yeah. All right. Philly at Cleveland. Philly, I know Joel Embiid being out kind of puts a damper on it, but still, nice, not a bad slate of NBA games tonight coming at you. So we'll hit that up coming up here in just a little bit too. So, but hey, let's get things rolling, shall we? On this Monday morning, Monday after Super Bowl. Recap the game, and now we're kind of into the off season, aren't we? Kind of got some countdowns going on. What is it, like 70 some days to the draft? Free agency in the NFL begins next week, or I wish it was next week. Next month, yeah, 73 days until the NFL draft. Free agency next month. Combine at the end of this month into the beginning of March. It's never an off season when it comes to football. It comes to the NFL, right? But we'll recap this. Patrick Mahomes, three titles, 4 appearances, 3 titles. Andy Reid, 3 titles. I know a lot of talk about Patrick Mahomes now, GOAT status, and kind of where the arrow is pointing up for him. Get it? Totally understand it. Not taking anything away from him, but I think you also need to give a little love to the former Packers assistant coach, Mr. Andy Reid, for maybe really solidifying and improving his legacy in NFL history. So let's get things rolling. Quick break, and we'll be back here. Going to reset everything. We'll talk a little football. Super Bowl in the books. Like I said earlier, 363 days now until Jordan Love hoists the Lombardi in New Orleans. Just saying. We know Mike's Star Market is your go-to place for quality and flavor when it comes to brats, steaks, burgers, and chicken. Mike's is also your go-to place when it comes to snack sticks, jerky, and now freeze-dried candy. So many different flavors of freeze-dried candy that you will want to try them all. And whenever you walk into Mike's Star Market, man, it's like you're going on a scavenger hunt because there's so many different things to try over there. So whether you're looking for something to make for dinner or to stock up on some different snacks, head on over to Mike's Star Market, west side of Eau Claire over there. All right. Super Bowl 58 in the books. Don't want to go into like ranking it as one of the best top 10 or whatever. Not quite 24 hours after the fact and such. But I think nonetheless it was a close game throughout, a little sloppy at times, especially in the first half there, some turnovers, some fumbles and such. But nonetheless, forcing OT. Got some drama at the end of OT there. Walk-off touchdown, 49ers kicking the field goal to take the lead early on, and then the Chiefs able to get the walk-off touchdown there at the end. So, I mean, I think eventually it's going to be looked upon as a Super Bowl that, I don't know, ranked fairly high in terms of, a lot of people's favorite or best or at least, entertaining close games. Or I mean, eventually it will. I don't want to get into that right after, like, what, 12 hours or whatever the heck. Yeah, not even 12 hours after the fact. I don't want to get into a recency effect, but I think it was a very, for as sloppy as it was at times, it was a tight game. It was a close game throughout, kept you watching. And you get into an overtime literally with what, just a couple seconds left. Can't ask for a better game there. But come on now, NFL, can we please put this to a Saturday game? All right, I'm just saying, just saying. By the way, I don't know if I'm a bad parent, bad dad. I let my 6-year-old stay up and watch the whole game. Mom's not happy about it, but I let Hutsy stay up. He was way too into it and such. And since it was such a close game, I'm probably a bad parent, so I don't even know how the morning's going right now with him or not. If I didn't have to deal with him getting up, so I don't know. But nonetheless, I mean, if I was a kid and into football and all that, and it was a close game, I mean, I'd want to stay up and watch the whole thing. So, anyways, I digress. But a lot of different storylines to come out of this win for the Chiefs. You're gonna have the big one out there, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, you look at Patrick Mahomes and his postseason success, his record, and all that, and there's no doubt about it. It's pretty darn impressive. Let's not kid ourselves. It is incredibly impressive at his age, what, 28, 29 years old that he is right now. I mean, all the guy does is he wins. He freaking wins a lot. He's already won more playoff games in his career. Think about this. He's won 15. Is it 15 postseason games I saw? Yeah, he's got 15. That's more than Peyton Manning. That's more than John Elway, Terry Bradshaw. And I know the Terry Bradshaw one's a little bit older and, et cetera, et cetera. But, I mean, he's one away from tying Montana. I think it's safe to say, if you want to put a bet down, a futures bet down, to say Patrick Mahomes is going to at least get, second most postseason wins, it's probably a safe bet. Brady's got 35. Montana's at 16. Mahomes is at 50. I think the one that surprised me the most is he's got more than Peyton freaking Manning. It's unreal. The start of his career, it's unreal. 2-time MVP. 6 straight championship games, AFC championship games. 4 times he's been to the Super Bowl. 3 times he's won it. 3 times Super Bowl MVP. The one thing I think it shows, we get into this argument, this debate when quarterbacks get big contracts. It's like, oh, you can't win anymore. Once you give that quarterback a huge contract, you can't. Patrick Mahomes got a $500 whatever $1 million contract, and they're still winning. And I think the caveat to all that though too is Patrick Mahomes is one of the better quarterbacks out there. So if you're giving a big time contract to that, you're asking that quarterback to fill a lot of voids on your team, or maybe some of the weaknesses on your team. Patrick Mahomes does that. I mean, he's got Travis Kelce in offense, Isaiah Pacheco and such. Wide receivers, Bryce, MVS. You know, that's hurt. Cole. You know, he doesn't have all pro wide receivers. Didn't have it's you look at like the Chiefs offense and the 49ers offense. 49ers have an all pro at tight end, an all pro at wide receiver, an all pro at running back. And their other wide receiver is Deebo Samuel. Pretty darn good, right? Chiefs have Kelce and some other dudes out there. Don't want to downplay them or anything like that, but it doesn't compare to the weapons the 49ers have. But what does Mahomes do? He makes up for some of that. You're going to pay that quarterback. You could still win by paying the quarterback a lot of money. If that quarterback can fill some of the voids, make up for some of the voids on the team. Mahomes can do that. And he has been doing it. This was a year, too. Again, it's like, what's wrong with the Chiefs' offense? Chiefs are winning, but it's not because of the offense. And that's where you got to give the defense a ton of credit. And Steve Spagnuolo have 4 championships now as a coordinator. I mean, that defensive group, and that's the other part in this thing, is like that defensive group full of youngsters. This is probably what's, if you're a Raiders or Broncos or, you know, who's else? I just blanked on who else is in the AFC West here. Oh, Chargers. You're probably looking at this Chiefs team, and like on the defensive side, it's like they're all young. They got a lot of young dudes out there. Last year when they won it, there was rookies and second-year guys out there, and then they're still got young guys out there. And it seems like the defense was even better this year. And it's like, if you're a team or if you're a fan who's not a Chiefs fan, you're just like, oh God. Now, maybe the saving grace is Hardball with the Chargers coming over there. I don't know. But nonetheless, they're built right now, I think, to still be pretty darn competitive. And still, that window's still open. It's still open for the Chiefs right now. Who knows what it's going to look like in the next couple of years? Yeah, Mahomes is still only 28 years old. 28! I don't want to get into a whole GOAT debate, best of all time, or anything like that. But I would, when we get into like those talking points for GOATs, I think for some where, Brady's got the rings, but for some who maybe don't put him on there, it's like, well, he wasn't, not the best gifted one or the most talented quarterback out there. Mahomes, depending on the rings, he's got the talent, he's got the hardware, he's on a nice track, in my opinion, to maybe kind of put himself squarely in that position when his career's all said and done. But it is super impressive, incredibly impressive, as annoying as it gets. And I think right now the Chiefs are probably, if they're not there, I think for some they're probably in that category right now. If they're not there yet, they're going to be close. They're annoying for a lot of other fan bases because you want something different. Heading into the Super Bowl, you had a lot of people picking the 49ers, maybe just straight up because, or they were rooting for the 49ers because you wanted something different. We wanted something different. Getting tired of the same teams winning it. I get it. I understand it. I'm with you on a lot of that stuff too. But right now, it sure looks like maybe Kansas City won't be going anywhere anytime soon. And I think a lot of it too is the leadership that they got in place with their coach. Andy Reid, to me, is his career. It's going to be whoever writes that book, and whenever Andy Reid's career is over with, and say somebody writes that book, to look at his career, and it's almost like two phases, really. He's assistant coach in Green Bay over there, but then gets hired as head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. Makes some NFC Championship games. Finally got over the hump in that 04 season, right? Got there. It was the whole T.O. thing. T.O. makes that miraculous recovery with the ankle injury, but never went back to the Super Bowl. Had he just never went back. After that 04, 13-3, started off, Philly first season was 5-11. 11-5, 11-5, 12-4, 12-4, 13-3. Finally got to Super Bowl, right? And was solid after that. Had some 500 type seasons, 10 wins, 11 wins, and such. Gets let go, moves on from Philly. Doesn't take a year. Goes straight up to Kansas City, where he's kind of had this resurgence of his career ever since he's been with Kansas City in 2013, his first season there. He's only had one season where he didn't have double-digit wins, and that was 2014, 9-7. Otherwise he's had double-digit wins every single season. Every single season. And does it help to have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely. Let's not kid ourselves. But I'm also a big believer that for every good quarterback, there's always a really good coach. Unless you're Joe Gibbs and you've won 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Belichick had Brady. Bill Walsh had Montana. We don't need to go down that whole list every single time. That's why to me, football is the ultimate team game, and you need everybody clicking on all cylinders on this thing. But back to Reid thing. To the Reid thing, I can't think of another coach who, had a pretty solid career with Philly. Didn't have a Super Bowl championship, but won a lot of games. Wasn't a Hall of Fame coach at that point in time. Probably kind of teetering on the, maybe one of the best coaches without a title sort of thing. Goes to Kansas City, and it's like the guy has a second chapter in his coaching career, and it's remarkable. A guy who completely changed the story of his career, the legacy of his career. 4 Super Bowls, 3 titles. I think now has put himself into the conversation as maybe a top 10 NFL coach of all time. And who knows, when it's all said and done, what if he goes out there and wins a couple more? And he's at 5. Top 5 coach of all time? I just think it's kind of remarkable to see, when we look at the NFL and you look at a lot of these teams hiring head coaches, a lot of them going the younger route, trying to find that young coordinator, maybe a young, exciting coordinator, right? It's the McVays. It's on the defensive side, it's the Mike McDaniels. Trying to find those. And yet you've got Andy Reid, 65, 66 years old, and he's coaching maybe at the top of his peak of his career right now, what he's doing. You look at coaching trees, and everybody talks about the Shanahan coaching tree. You got McVay as a branch off that. You've got LaFleur. You got Mike McDaniels. You got Raheem Morris. You got DeMeco Ryans. Those different branches, and yet you got Andy Reid still there, Super Bowl appearances, 4 Super Bowl appearances in the last 5 seasons, 6 straight AFC Championship games. Nobody talks about his tree. What, he's had Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy? But Matt Nagy's back with him. You know what I mean? So it's just, to me, Andy Reid is what he has done with Kansas City is pretty darn remarkable in his career and his story. And I think has really vaulted his status and history as a top 10 coach of all time. And he's not done yet. He's not done. You know, I don't think. Now let me bring it up here. We've been talking about Bill Belichick. Is he going to get the most wins of all time? Well, he ain't going to be coaching this year, right? Or this upcoming season. He ain't going to be coaching. He's 26 wins away from tying that. Andy he's less than 100 wins away. He's at 258, it looks like right now. I don't think he will get, is that correct? Is that all in the up and up? I think it might be all in the up and up. But, I mean, he might join that category if he coaches for a few more years. Say he coaches 4 more years, 10 wins a season. At least 10 wins a season. He might join the only 3 other guys with 300 career wins on that resume. But I think it's time to kind of look at Reid and be like, yeah, that dude's a top 10 coach of all time. And maybe getting a little bit closer to 5. So for all the youth movement we see in the NFL, all these, trying to get the young, exciting coaches in here, you still got Andy Reid doing his thing. And for a guy who has coached since 1999, been around for a little bit. For a guy who has been adaptable to his offense, changing it almost, halfway through the season, kind of really, if you look back at this regular season around Christmas, changing it up a little bit. He's a fantastic head coach, and maybe a little bit underrated. So, Chiefs are definitely in that category that I think, though, too, for a lot of people, like, all right, don't like them just because they keep winning. Don't like Patrick Mahomes because he keeps winning. I'm not going to argue too much because sometimes my fanism comes out and be like, oh, I just want somebody different. I just want a different coach, or I just want a different team in there winning some games. So I hear you if you're on that side. I hear you. I understand it. But man, that's the one thing though too. Like at the back end of Brady and the Patriots thing, it was just like, okay, I might as well, I'm going to start to maybe kind of embrace this because I don't know if it's going to happen again. Well, maybe hold your horses. Maybe we are going to see it again with Mahomes and such. But when you witness greatness, when you watch some of the best do it, maybe it's annoying because you're frustrated because it's not your team and you just want to see something different here and there. But sometimes you just got to sit back and watch some of the best do it. And I think that's Mahomes, and I think that's Andy Reid right now. Saw Dan Orlovsky tweet this. The Chiefs face the number 2, 3, 4, and 6 offenses in the playoffs, which combined to average 28.3 points per game this season. Averaged 15.8 versus Kansas City in the postseason. Spags shaved off 12.5 points off of 4 of the best offenses in the NFL. I fully believe Spags would be getting head coaching talk if he was probably a little bit younger. If he was 10, 15 years younger, whether it's right or wrong, I think he'd be getting some talks about a head coach. The job that he has done with this group, again, when you factor in how young that group is, yes, you have Jones up front. You've got Snead, really solid corner. But when you look at last year and you look at this year, with how young that group was and how dang good they are, man, heck of a job. Heck of a job. Just overall, the entire machine, if you want to call it, the entire leadership, the organization from Kansas City, they're the cream of the crop right now. I'll tell you that. It's if I don't get to it on Friday, if I forget it on Friday, or maybe something else pops out, cream of the crop right now is just the entire Kansas City Chiefs organization because they're doing something right over there, and that's the organization teams really need to emulate. That's who they should be emulating right now. And does it make it easier that they have a quarterback? Absolutely, no doubt. But a lot of other parts of that you can emulate. Take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour here. After these few words. Okay, so you have a little extra money left from your tax return and you want to do something fun with it, like spending it on yourself. But what do you do? Well, if you're a hunter, how about that new deer rifle or shotgun for turkey and bird hunting? Hey, now that I've piqued your interest, it's time to visit Tilden Gun. Family owned and operated. Sean and Hunter from Tilden Gun are ready to help you find that new deer rifle or shotgun for your next hunting adventure. With the biggest selection in the area, all at the best prices, they'll help you find just what you're looking for. You can either visit tildengun.com to check out their selection and order online or stop by at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls to see what they have in their store, including their used selection and their wall of handguns, plus all the accessories you need. So once you get that tax return this year, save some of it and spoil yourself this year. Upgrade to a new deer rifle or shotgun for turkey hunting this season. You deserve it. And let Tilden Gun help you find that firearm that you're looking for. I saw some people commenting, asking, or I should say, I saw a couple people asking if I watched halftime show. I'll be honest, no, I didn't. I didn't watch it. I saw a lot of people praising it, especially on Facebook and such. So looks like the majority of you, if not like almost all of you, saying that thumbs up to it. I didn't watch it. That's I'll just tell you what I was doing. I was in the shower. I hopped in the shower and such. Got some stuff ready for the work week and that. That's when I use that halftime portion. I'm doing my other stuff, getting ready for the work week and such. So I didn't see it. I can't comment on it. I'll just say, according to my Facebook, though, maybe it was just because it's my generation, but it looks like a wide majority of people really enjoyed it. So, all right, cool. Thumbs up. I know my wife did. So, just a few minutes left to the top of the hour here. But coming up next hour, we'll hit up some hoops chats. Badgers. What the heck is going on with this Badger basketball team right now? 4 straight losses for the Badgers. I got a game against Ohio State coming up tomorrow. But what the heck is going on with this group? Bucks back in action tonight, too, after having the weekend off. But got a tough back-to-back. You got Denver on Monday and then Miami on Tuesday, all at Milwaukee here. But we just got 4 more games. Yeah, 4 more games until the All-Star break for the Bucks coming up. Is that right? Coming up here? Got to be. What am I looking at here? I'll have to. Is that schedule right that I'm looking at here? I'll have to double check it. But yeah, we got the All-Star break coming up here. Or the February 18th. There you go. I don't know if that's. The schedule's really. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, it says Indy on there, but it's not. It's the All-Star break. Gotcha. All right, so yeah, we got 3 more regular season games coming up here for the for the Bucks: Denver, Miami, and then Memphis. So we'll talk about some Bucks game coming up tonight. But you got the Timberwolves also in action tonight, too, going up against the Clippers. And you got 4 teams right now battling out for that top seed in the Western Conference. Minnesota's holding on to it by just a half game over Denver and the Clippers and OKC. So quite the battle going on for that. And I've got to imagine it's probably going to be like that all the way until the beginning of April when we wrap up this regular season. So that's going to be quite the race to follow once we get closer to that. But we'll talk some hoops coming up next hour. JC is going to be on for just a little bit. So normally we would do our local sports roundup here, but we're going to hit that up right away when he's in at 7:30. So we'll hit that up right away when he's in, so we make sure we can cover it because we've got brackets out for girls high school basketball. We've got hockey postseason starting this week. We've got wrestling this past weekend too. Got some WIAC action, so we got lots to catch up on with Justice. So we'll hit that up right away because he's only going to be on for a short time this morning, only about a half an hour or so. So we'll catch up with JC on all that sort of stuff. Couple of texts to get to here. Definitely agree with you. Now Andy Reid should be considered a top 10 NFL head coach of all time. The job he has done with the Kansas City Chiefs is quite the story. Definitely a two different, two different stories to his coaching career. I'm already, another texter here saying, I'm already ready to say that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT when you combine the talent and the rings he has at this stage in his career. To me, he is the GOAT, even over Tom Brady. All right. So somebody already willing to do that. Another texture here coming up. This one is from Benjamin, it looks like. Definitely enjoyed the game last night. Yes, it was a little sloppy, but it was tight throughout. I like a little defensive battle mixed in with some good offensive plays here and there, and that game produced it. Drama all the way until the end. And who doesn't love walk-off victories? All right. Another texter here saying that game was proof why the Super Bowl needs to be moved to Saturday. NFL, make some positive PR for once and move this game to Saturday. That comes from Gregory on the Shoe Doctors texting line over there. All right, keep your texts coming. We'll get back to some more coming up a little bit later on here. So get your thoughts going. We're going to kick off some hoops talk coming up next hour. We've got Badgers trying to figure out what the heck is going on with that group. We're going to talk some Bucks taking on the Denver Nuggets. Going to hit that up. So okay, I got time for a couple more texts here. Reed, definitely top 10, not top 5 yet. You still got Belichick, you still got Lombardi, you still got Hallis, you still got Joe Gibbs to go in there. But if he wins one more, he's definitely in that conversation. Another texter here saying clearly Andy Reid is a top 10 coach of all time. Don't think he's top 5 yet, but he's definitely trending in that direction. All right. I got a couple more to get to here, but I'll save that because the shot clock is going to cut me off here. So, again, we'll talk some hoops. I know a couple of you have already texting about the Badgers right now, kind of venting your frustration over there. So, we'll get to those texts coming up here just past the top of the hour. Ohio State, though, tomorrow. What is going on with this Badger basketball team? What happens? What happened? Did Nebraska break them? I mean, for goodness gracious. What did Nebraska do to this Badger team? He had a good first half against Nebraska, and then everything just tumbled downward. Tumbled downward. Let's try to figure it out. Let's try to fix them. Let's try to help out this ball club. All right, one in. We got a couple more to go on a Super Bowl weekend hangover. More texts to get to, more thoughts, more comments, more opinions, and more Super Bowl talk. We'll get to that. But after the news updates, we're going to hit up some Hoops Chat. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning, little weekend hangover coming at you. What's kind of your weekend hangover this morning? It's easy for me. It's the Super Bowl, late night last night, moved this game to a Saturday. The second part is what we're going to be talking about right now. Because when it's a hangover, you're kind of like, oh, you're in a crabby mood, or maybe you're kind of like recounting what was really good over the weekend or such. It could be different ways when you're talking about a hangover, right? Well, there's two things that kind of stand out to me from the weekend. It's that obviously Super Bowl from last night, but this Badger basketball team. What in the world is going on with this ball club? And you could point to a few different things if you want to. You can point to, I don't think it's just one thing. I don't think it's just one thing with this Badger hoops team. It's a combination of a few different things. It's Stephen Krull, who's been pretty quiet in his last few games here. It's been the bench play for this Badger team. It's been 3-point shooting lately for Badgers. In that game against Rutgers, for crying out loud, the Badgers shot 5 of 21, 23.8%. They shot a lousy 32.8% from the field. Free throw line, not good either. 59% from the charity stripe. 59%. Turnovers. 12 turnovers in the game. They had 9. Right? Early portions of that game. 9. Again, in this game, we mentioned Stephen Krull. 3 of 8. He had 13 rebounds. He was aggressive on the boards. Points-wise, just 7, though. And you had Connor finally, contributing, but maybe Greg Gard just needs to unleash Connor Segian a little bit more. 15 points, 24 minutes he got in that game. But you're looking at the previous games with Connor. I know he's been kind of dealing with some injuries here or there, but he plays 24 minutes and you kind of unleash him. He puts up 15. In that loss against Michigan, he played 10, contributed 0 points. Purdue, 12, 6 points. Maybe you need to unleash him a little. So when I look at this team, it's a combination of a lot of different things with this Badger basketball team. And they got to figure this out. Something happened after that second half in Nebraska where it was like, first half, all right, feeling good, looking good, jumping off to a good start. And it's like Nebraska broke them. They broke them in that second half. And they hung with Purdue. It's still a loss, but they hung with Purdue there. But, man, what this team looks completely different. Week and a half ago, number 6 in the country. Feeling pretty good leading up into that Nebraska game. Sitting here saying, watch this team. Watch college basketball. Watch the Badgers. Maybe we got something here. And then, not good. We got 7 more games left in this regular season. Ohio State tomorrow. They're at Iowa. Home against Maryland. At Indiana. Home against Illinois. Home against Rutgers. And then they finish up on the road against Purdue. When you're looking at the Big Ten now, Wisconsin, they got to be careful here where they're at in the conference standings. They're tied with Northwestern now. Purdue's going to win the conference regular season title. I don't think that's a bold statement or bold prediction or anything at that point. You've got Illinois, who's 2.5 back, Northwestern, Wisconsin 3, but now you got Michigan State, that's 4 back, Nebraska 4.5, Minnesota 4.5. When you get to the conference tournament, you're talking about seedings, buys. But I just want Wisconsin to win a dang game now and get off this schneid and get some momentum. It's like after that first half in Nebraska when they started that second half, and it's like they haven't gotten the momentum back since that game against Nebraska. It's like they haven't found it yet. So they got to do something to change their course here. I don't know where they're going to wind up in the latest rankings when they come out later on today. I don't think they'll be out of the top 25, but I think they'll probably be in the 20s. They got to be careful here. Quit playing around. Quit screwing around and get back to what we're doing. So, elsewhere, we got the Bucks back in action tonight here. They picked up a win against. Talk about a team too that really needed a win. Maybe just some confidence going and to get things back on track. They got that against Charlotte on Friday night after getting plummeted by Minnesota, especially in the second half there. But Bucks taking care of business against, let's call it an inferior opponent against Charlotte. That's what they were, inferior opponent, at home, on their home court. Got to do your business, and they did that. It was the first appearance with Patrick Beverley in a Bucks uniform, too. But the Bucks 120-84 victory last Friday night. Damian Lillard returned to the lineup after missing the last couple of games. And he put up 26. Malik Beasley, 21. Giannis, just 24 minutes of action, 15 points. Still double-double because I put up 14. Bobby Portis getting some production off the bench, 18 points. Good game for Bobby. I don't know, leading up to the trade deadline, we were talking about Bobby Portis and maybe some of his lack of offensive production leading up to the trade deadline. Did he get caught into, and I know it's just one game, I don't want to overreact a little bit, but you do kind of have to wonder, it's these pro athletes say they tune out and don't pay attention to that, but we're all human. Kind of wonder, with the rumors being floated out there, does it affect the guy's play a little bit? Does it get to him a little bit? After the trade deadline, he's still with the Bucks, and he comes out and he has himself one of his best offensive games than what he's had in the last few games here. 18 points off the bench for Bobby Portis. That's what they need from him. They need that Bobby Portis, especially with Middleton still out. They need that type of Bobby Portis to go out there, be that sixth man, like it was last year, sixth man of the year candidate. That's got to be him. He was a plus or minus plus 13 coming off the bench. Beverly played 12 minutes, 6 points, saw some of his defensive play. Dude put up 4 assists. I think he's gonna be a nice presence. He's gonna provide a little spark. He's gonna provide a little energy on the defensive side. Probably gonna cut the minutes of some of these other guys here. I kind of wonder if AJ Green, I know he had a quiet night, just 1 of 9 from 3, but I think you're going to see the second year sharpshooter, 3-point shooter, maybe gonna kind of get a little bit more of a role under Doc Rivers. I think we might see that. Now that we got Beverly in here, I think tonight's game against Denver might be a good litmus test, but kind of see that rotation. I think maybe Doc's still trying to figure out things and first guys off the bench and figure out that rotation. I'm curious to see where that's all going to play out here. And can AJ Green kind of be that guy that's a part of that rotation? Pat's going to be in there. Beverly's going to be in there. Portis. We'll see about Marjon Beauchamp. I only played 8 minutes in that game against Charlotte. I wonder if he's going to be the odd man out in a lot of these rotations here. But you got Denver tonight at home. Then you got Miami tomorrow. I mean, this is a difficult 2 games here for a Bucks team that they're falling a little bit further down in the standings. They're not even leading their own division. Divisions don't really mean anything in the NBA, but I mean, Cleveland's playing incredibly well. They're hot as all get out. They've won 9 in a row. They're in that second spot. Bucks are 2 games behind them. You've got the Knicks right behind them too. I think we just want to see some positive stuff heading into the All-Star break here for the Bucks. You got these 3 games before the All-Star break. Want to see some positivity moving into this thing. Like, okay, because after the All-Star break, You're finishing out the month of February. 4 games left in February. You got the whole month of March and just the first couple weeks in April. Not a lot of regular season games left. That's kind of when you want to see, all right, now we go after the All-Star break. Starting to get that momentum, riding it into the postseason. Because right now, at this current time, Bucks are 65%, about 65% through their season. It's over. About 65% of the season's over with right now. So after this All-Star break is when I want to see everything kind of start to gel and rotations starting to get figured out and you know, everybody's kind of a little bit more on the same page, understanding each other, figuring stuff out. And maybe Patrick Beverley, maybe he's that guy that could kind of help put everything together. I don't know. But tonight's game against the Nuggets, you can reminder catch it on the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Tip time for tonight's game 7 p.m. Although we know the NBA never ever 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 starts on time, so it'll probably be a little few minutes after 7 p.m. But pregame kicks off or tips off, I should say, at about 6:30. All right, coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll catch up with Justice Cleveland. That's when we'll kind of do our local roundup here. He'll only be on for about 30 minutes. So we got lots to catch up on the local side of things. We'll definitely get back to some more Super Bowl talk as well, recapping that. And now we're kind of into the off season, right? Kind of into the off season. But your thoughts from the game last night, you can let us know via the text. I'll try to get to all your messages. Hit us up with that text at 715-830-1912. Couple of messages about the Badgers, though. This is from Matthew. Matthew saying about the Badgers, I have no idea what's going on with this Badger basketball team, but it has been maddening. Like you said, I think it's a lot of things and not just one thing. Stephen Crawley has been quiet. Three-point shooting has been down. Bench production has been a little bit slow. You're right. Let's unleash Connor a little bit more going forward. This one is from Jim. Jim is also saying that this Badger team has been really frustrating the last few games. I was so high on them. I was so pumped to see them when they were at number 6, thinking, hey, we potentially have a Final Four Elite Eight team. And now all that shine has worn off. I hope they can figure it out in these final few games of the regular season and still make a deep postseason run. All right. Keep your comments coming. We'll get to them here in just a little bit. All right. We'll get to more of those. We're going to take a break because JC in the East, he's going to be on here. We'll get his thoughts on Super Bowl and everything else going on in the sports world after these few words. It's tax season, so while you may be a little frustrated trying to track down your W-2s and whether you're going to file yourself or have someone do it for you, just think about the light at the end of the tunnel. That's that tax return, some extra coin in your pocket. Now, what should you do with that extra cash that's burning a hole in your pocket? How about finally changing out that old ratty carpet in your home and getting some new luxurious carpet or vinyl planks from Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire? Whatever style of flooring you're looking for, or maybe you're not sure what style you want yet, the team at Carpet City Flooring Center is waiting to help you find that perfect new floor for your space. So what in the world are you waiting for? Once you get your taxes done, go visit Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue and chat with one of their awesome team members. They'll help you so you finally get that new floor in your home that you've been wanting for a while now, and all at the best price in town, because they will match or beat that competition. In studio here for a little bit this morning, fresh off the golf course, Justice Cleveland. So how many times did you go last week?
Since my wife isn't listening, 3.
There you go.
One she knows about.
One.
I'm sure 2 she's, suspects that
Yeah.
I didn't just stay home.
That's awesome. Well, did you play well at least for February standards?
The first round, first off, the course at Mill Run the greens were in great shape. So it wasn't, you expect the greens just to kind of be rough.
Right.
No, they were putting well. I had a good stretch. There was a stretch where I was 1 under through 5 holes.
Nice.
So I'll take that. I got a birdie. I got 2 birdies in the 3 rounds. This last round I was getting back into normal shape.
You can say you've gotten a birdie now in February golf.
Right. I am amazed just to be able to get out there and even just swing the clubs.
Right.
Driving range you would take, be able to actually go out there and play it.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
That's awesome. All right. So I know we got you for a little shorter here time, so I wanted to kind of do a quick roundup because this is a busy time for you guys in your industry here. Girls basketball, the brackets came out for the state tournament here. Now those games will start next week because they're still wrapping up some of the regular season stuff here, but we know the seats for some, and it seems like we got quite a few local teams, either a 1 seed or a top seed in our area. So even whether it's, maybe some of the mid divisions, Menominee though, Division 2 is a 1 seed, I believe.
Yeah.
Over
deserved.
there. So,
that's a really good team.
Mm-hmm. So, well represented all across the board. I know I went through them a little bit earlier. Let me bring up my Word document here that I had some of the local ones over here. But, Division 1, Memorial is a 4, Chi High's 16, and North is a 15. Menominee is a 1, and they will play potentially River Falls or Wausau East, whoever wins that game. Rice Lake's a 3, and they could play either New Richmond or my Medford Raiders.
That's going to be a tough team. I don't think anybody's going to want to run. I don't think anyone run any of these teams, but Rice Lake, that's a 3. That's a sneaky 3. And Shep sisters there. Can score a lot of points.
And is it similar to like maybe football in that Rice Lake plays really tough regular season schedule once and kind of prepares them for the postseason?
If you look who they play, obviously Memorial a 3 in Division 1, and then you've got Menominee and 1 and 2. I think for Rice Lake that it always bodes well. It always helps. It's I always look at it like The Rookie, the movie with Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
These kids were didn't realize he was throwing 95, 96 miles per hour.
Yep.
So then when you go down a little bit, I think that's what really helps Rice Lake in these situations.
Nice. I like that analogy. Nice.
I know. It just kind of seems like they're getting the fastball all the time.
Yep.
And and I don't want to discount their opponents, but you know what I mean?
They're
getting tough opponents every time they're out there in conference play.
Baldwin Woodville's a 1 in D3. They'll play either Bloomer or Northwestern. Elk Mountain is a 1 in D3.
Well-deserved 1 for sure.
Altoona's a 3 seed, and they could either play Black River Falls or Mauston.
That Altoona team, watch out. That's a team I think that can go far and has shown they can play anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that's another one of those 3s. If we're looking at those 3 and 4 that we have in our area, those are some super tough teams.
Yeah. And then Division 4, holy moly here. Fall Creek's a 1. We got Fall Creek's a 1. Colfax is a 5. Regis is a 3. Durant, Arkansas is a 2. McDonald Central's a 1. Neilsville's a 1. Cameron's a 3. You got a bunch of top seeds in this area.
You like that where it's bounding towards a McDonald Fall Creek rematch down the road. Now, again, there's a lot of good teams in between there, and who knows what happens, but if it plays out, those 2 teams just played last week with Fall Creek giving McDonald their first loss of the season, first conference loss of the season. So
yeah, I mean, then you got Neilsville. It's just a program,
right?
over there
Exactly.
too.
So I mean, the Clover Belt teams, and I know crossovers this week since this is the last week of it. So we'll kind of get a preview with that. I don't know exactly the seedings right now. Fall Creek I think Fall Creek and McDonald are tied atop. So I'm not sure who gets the one, how that ends up going.
Right. But yeah, there's just that. It seems like Division 4, Division 5, always basketball. You got really good matchups across the board.
And with McDonald moving down to D4, I mean, you throw them in that mix and it's just going to be crazy.
Yep. And then D5, Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran is a 7 seed over there too. So they get to host Frederick.
Yes.
Over there. In your favorite gym. One of your favorite gyms.
I mean, the decor.
Yep. The decor over there.
Chef's kiss.
So it's hard to believe we're already talking about girls basketball brackets.
I mean, we're talking hockey playoffs this week.
Yep, exactly.
So that's going to start up tomorrow. We got both Memorial and North playing in the regional semifinal games at Hobbs in a doubleheader. So, and then you go the winner of North's game. They play DC Everest, I believe, tomorrow. We'll play at Chi High, the number 1 seed. So, I mean, again, that hockey, we talked about it last week, is just going to be knocked down, drag out to see who ends up going to state in that the sectional of death, or whatever we wanted to call it. Yeah, it's pretty insane.
So that, as you said, that all begins tomorrow. North taking on DC Everest. Then we got Memorial taking on, is it the Barron Co-op?
Yep.
Over there.
Is that I don't know. I can't remember on a Monday morning.
And then, North, if they win, they would take on Chi High. Memorial would take on the winner of Superior or Ashland Co-op. Hudson's got a bye. They would take on Merrill Co-op or Wausau West. And then Spash has a bye, too, at the bottom end of that bracket.
But, those teams you see in there are the ones that catch your eye. Of course, Chi High, the number 1 team. After a great game with Memorial last week that went into overtime, and they got the win. So you get Chi High, you got Memorial, you've got Hudson, and you've got Spash.
Yeah.
And one of those teams isn't going to state. 3 of those teams aren't going to state. Only one of those teams is going to make it to state.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
That's insane, man. That's insane. And then, I mean, Division 2, you still got a lot of local.
Yes.
New Richmond's a 1 seed in there. Rice Lake's a 4 seed. You've got on the other side, Menominee's a 1.
Yep.
Over there too. Altoona Co-op's a 7. They're going up against number 2 River Falls over there. Black River Falls is good. That's an interesting one. Black River Falls Co-op versus Baldwin Woodville St. Croix Central in a 4-5 matchup. So, I mean, even in Division 2, you've got a lot of local teams. Yeah, I mean, still in action too.
Good chance we get one of our local teams. I would say almost guaranteed, with the way that bracket breaks down, that one of the local teams goes. And again, these are a lot of teams in that D2 that have been playing a D1 conference schedule.
Right.
That's going to help when they move over there. So I think Menominee last year made the run. New Richmond, number 1 team in Division 2. Graham, don't discount them. Making a run. And I mean, there's those teams that just Baldwin Woodville. So somebody's gonna. It 2 is always more of a crapshoot, I think, than you'll really ever see. 1 is crapshoot too, because just how the competition as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all in 2 weeks. Who's heading over to, is it Middleton, the Madcaps?
Yes, I believe so. So, and then is it for, let me just bring
girls,
it up. Girls, that's where
ECA and Chippewa Falls Menominee will be playing each other on Friday.
Okay.
In the, I guess that'd be just the regional finals. Because the bracket's a little smaller there. So
there it is, yes. Right on and that winner would go up against River Falls. Co-op,
right. So, I mean, these are teams that they're all familiar with each other because, I mean, the pool's a lot smaller in girls hockey. So most of these teams have already played each other at some point in the season. So they know it tends to make it a little more intense that way, too.
Absolutely. Back to boys hoops here. I know they got another week here before the brackets come up, but what a huge win for North boys on Friday nights against Memorial.
I think that the first time I figured it out since 2021. Looking back, since they'd beat Memorial.
Was that maybe Dalton Banks?
I think Banks was gone.
Banks was gone? Okay.
But so I had, but right after his era, because I think he had graduated in 2020.
Okay.
I remember his last game might have been that sectional in Rapids where no one was allowed to go to. And then But I mean, for them to, that just shows that North team is immensely talented. So is that Memorial team, don't get me wrong. And I know they wish they had Jesperson, I'm sure, on the floor for that one, but don't discount what North did. North is a team that has guys all around, and when it all gels, That's a team you do not want to see in the playoffs. So
yeah.
that's a huge boost going in this final 2 weeks here of the regular season.
So how does that? I mean, I got to admit, does that make this final week even more tighter for a conference for the BRC?
Yes, I would believe so. I don't have the standings right in front of me, but I think that's Memorial's second conference loss because they lost to River Falls earlier in the season there. So I would think that would put River Falls right around there.
Yeah.
Hudson and Rice Lake probably battling right up there with them as well. And North not too far behind. So, it tells you when we get to the playoffs, all bets are off because I think these teams are going to be really, and like the Menominees as well, and then the River Falls are going to move down a division, and so will Rice Lake. So, again, great competition in the big rivers and really helps for their postseason.
Absolutely. So, and I know we got some crossovers coming up. That would be in a couple weeks, though, right? Because
for the boys, yes, I think it would be the week next week.
Next week, yeah. Got to get that in my mind.
Well, I know you're trying to. Everything's kind of staggered here with the hockey, and then and then this weekend we have swimming. Championships, swimming and diving championships. That's down in Wanakee.
Because was it the Eau Claire Lions took second in the sectionals?
Over in Hudson.
Yep.
And then we've got wrestling sectionals, team sectionals as well this week.
Menominee, didn't they? They won their regional title, I think, and shout out Medford did too. So
so they'll be battling in the teams on Thursday, and that's at Menominee.
Okay.
Dot's hosting as well. So
some wrestling schools they're hosting, it sounds like.
No, exactly. And Menominee and Cadott too right there that you're thinking of. So I mean we're in the thick of it right now.
Absolutely. So we got that going on. Blue Golds wise, we've got kind of a tough weekend for the girls basketball team going up against Stout, the rivalry there. But the men's team picked up a big win.
2 in a row, which is good. I mean, obviously they're out, I believe, out of the running right now for the WIC tournament. So now you're just trying to get your bragging rights there as the season goes on. And it's a tight race for that final spot in the WIC tournament. Stout. Yeah. Right there in that battle for that final spot. I think everybody going into the weekend was like 4-6 or 5-6. So there's some battles on both sides, and Blue Gold women, same thing, battling for that final spot because Stout has caught fire after struggling early on in conference play. And I don't know if they had all the components, if there was injuries, but they look like a different team now than they did when we were seeing them a month ago.
Because they were at the beginning, they were ranked, weren't they too? Like some high expectations.
I think they were up to
Stout.
10th at some point. In D3 hoops. So for them to kind of struggle, but now find their way at the right time. That's a team that they could, if they play it right. We've seen them beat anybody. Could win that WIC conference tournament. But you still got to get in.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Hockey wise, men's hockey, they bounced back in the War on 94 series, whatever we want to call it, but they're the second seed in the WIAC tournament.
Yes, Points, I think, clinched it with that win, with Stout's win on Friday.
Yep.
So now it's up to the Blue Gold men. I think you got to win that tournament. Pairwise rankings, I don't think they've got enough to sneak into the tournament with all the at-large bids. So I think it's, if anything, you got to make the conference championship to have a chance. But winning it, obviously, you get the automatic bid. I think, and that's a team that can do it. Yep. And it's they've had unfortunately some tough losses. I think Stout would go down as a tough loss late in the season. It's a rivalry game though, and you're on the road, so I don't. And it was a 2-1 game. It's not like it was It's just a tough loss there, but that's a team that can beat anybody. Yep. So
exactly.
Tournament wise, you got to make that run.
So they get the bye. We won't see them until towards the end of the month when they host, but the 23rd and the 24th, I believe it is. So get ready for that. And then, women's side of things for women's hockey too. I know they've got another big game coming up here against River Falls that could kind of change some things, I would imagine.
I almost got them last week.
Yeah. Overtime.
And so now you get them again on Saturday afternoon. Really, it's more or less probably bragging rights at this point going into the conference tournament. But it's something you want to know. You want to know that you've got them one time. You want to be that team that hands them that first loss. Yep. And if you can do that, you got that confidence going into the conference tournament that who knows? Right. Again, there's no automatic bid in the women's side. So every win like that is going to be huge. So it's out. And I think Strand said it. I mean, they're in must wins. They know they're in playoff mode now.
Absolutely. And that's going to be at Hobbs. So I got to imagine Hobbs on Saturday is just going to be on fire.
Probably parents' night or something like that too, because it's the final home game of the regular season. So senior night Yep.
It's going to be lit, as the kids say, right?
It'll be a good one.
We do have some WIAC championships for some other sports, though. We got swimming and diving WIAC championships, but then wrestling WIAC championships.
Yeah.
So all this season with wrestling and Tim Fader's group and how well they've done, now it really gets interesting. This is what they've worked up for, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've been just. Now, I always want to say playing because it's sports, but have been wrestling. They're not playing.
Yeah.
They have been grappling very, very
Nice.
well. As they had the win over Point at home.
Yep.
Their dual record is insane. I mean, that's a team that just goes out there and gets the job done. So now, yeah, move on to the WIC. And again, we've talked about how nationals are going to be down in lacrosse. So they want to just keep that step going towards that goal.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that duel 33-8. I mean, against Point. When they won, like you mentioned, it's just kind of almost been dominating.
They had another guy get his 100th win.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that's the biggest thing is that you have teams, these guys who have been on the team long enough to get those 100 wins. And that just talks about Fader building up that team.
Yep.
And I saw Izzy Balzinger back is wrestling with them. This is a guy who was a star at Chi High like 10 years ago. Came back, had some eligibility left, and
look at that
wrestling for them. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, they've got to be thinking national championships, right?
Oh, that's got to be the goal.
Team or individuals or both, or at that point. So
yeah, I think they just want to keep this ball rolling.
All right, good quick recap and preview of what's to come here because got you here for a little bit yet. But tell you what, I'm going to take a really quick break.
Sounds good.
To regroup here. Then we'll get your thoughts on that game from last night.
I've heard about the big game.
Something like that, yeah. And then we're not talking Badgers anymore because that's just good Lord.
I'm worried. I'll just put it there.
Yeah.
I'm worried, and it's confidence is a huge issue right now with that team.
Golly, man. So, all right, we'll do a really quick break here, and we'll be back with more with Justice to finish up the second hour in just a couple minutes. About 15 minutes to the top of the hour here. We got JC here for a little bit more. So the football season, the NFL season, is officially now in the books until about another week or so. We got combine at the end of the month, and
the NFL's not going to let it go away. Trust me.
Yeah, definitely. What you got? 74 days to the draft, which seems not that far away.
No, in Green Bay.
Yeah. Well, next year in Green Bay.
Next year in Green Bay.
Detroit this year.
Yeah.
363 days until Jordan Love hoists the Lombardi in New Orleans, in case you're wondering. Just already called.
That's what I told my son. He's like, well, the Chiefs can't get a three-peat because, Jordan Love's going to be there. They're going to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl next year.
They may need to hire Joe Barry, though, to help out on defense to slow down the Chiefs. Somehow he knows the secret formula to Patrick Mahomes. So I don't want to get into best of all time. We're not even 12 hours after the game.
Right.
After this. But, I mean, it was kind of sloppy. But, I mean, to go into overtime and then literally win it in walk-off fashion with just a couple seconds left in overtime, I feel like people are going to look back at this Super Bowl favorably and memorable, with the back and forth there. But anything really stand out to you from that game last night, or maybe the season overall from the Chiefs or 49ers?
I still go with, I will still sit and say that I think the 49ers were the better team in that game. But, man, Spagnuolo, just at the right time, knows when to amp up that defense and just make a guy look uncomfortable. I don't think Purdy ever really looked comfortable in the game. I think they just had a good game plan to get that lead, and I thought it was going to be enough for them to get it. You miss an extra point.
Yeah.
And it always seems to come down with one little thing in, special teams that makes a difference in a game like that.
Yep.
But you made 2 50-plus yard field goals, too.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, you can kind of weigh it out with that. But, I mean, it wasn't the most interesting game up until probably the fourth quarter.
Right.
And that's how a lot of these close games are.
Yep.
They're kind of like, no. It's like a lull, and then it
felt like a boxing match almost.
Yeah, it really did. Yep.
Like I was watching a Rocky movie where they're just kind of feeling each other out in the first three quarters.
Yep.
And then the offense has started to kick in. It's like they were just throwing haymakers and punches all over the place there.
I think the key mistakes by San Francisco eventually ended up catching up to them. I mean, they had 2 turnovers for sure.
Yeah,
because they had the fumble that didn't
first drive.
Yeah, didn't lead to anything. But then the kickoff, the punt, that was the huge one. I think that's the one that really got Kansas City back to a point where they were confident, and then it was just back and forth for those final quarter until you couldn't punch it in for the touchdown in overtime, and you kind of had a feeling that Kansas City was going to get it done, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, for all the talk about you can't pay a quarterback a ton of money because then you're never going to win again. That whole narrative and that. I think Mahomes is kind of putting that to bed here a little bit because, I mean, like you look at the 49ers and their offense. They had the all-pro tight end. They had an all-pro wide receiver. They had an all-pro running back. Your other wide receiver was Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
A lot of weapons, right? Then you look at Kansas City. Yes, they had Travis Kelce, and then who else?
Right.
That's why you pay those really good quarterbacks that money is to fill those other voids, right? To fill that.
And they found a way.
Yeah. And they found a way to get it to get it done. That's the difference maybe between like a Brock Purdy and a Patrick Mahomes in that point.
And honestly, this is probably the weakest of those Kansas City Chiefs teams to win the title.
Yeah.
But again, they got it done. And that's in this day and age in the NFL, you got to keep those pieces moving. I mean, the fact that you had a Tyreek Hill on that roster at one time and that he's gone, the amount of running backs they've kind of shuffled through there.
Yeah.
But to get Hardman back, I mean, like you get a guy like that back on your roster late in the season from the Jets.
Yep.
Who ends up paying huge dividends.
Yep.
I mean, that just, as a front office, that's what you got to do. And these guys are familiar with what Andy Reid does and like playing for him. So that helps too. And then you have MVS, make the big play as well at one time. So
had the mistake play, then bounces back.
Right back.
That sort of stuff. But, you brought up Andy Reid there too. I mean, you talk about, I can't think of another coach. 2 really different chapters in his coaching career. Like Philadelphia went to 1 Super Bowl, wasn't going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
No, he was the guy who got him there, but couldn't get him over the hump.
Yep. Really good regular season coach, just couldn't, goes to Kansas City. And I can't think of another coach who might have just completely changed his legacy or the story of his career. 4 Super Bowls, now 3 titles.
Yeah.
I think easily top 10 head coach in history now, I think you could say.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of, 4 to win that many titles?
I know they did the top 100 team of all time, and they did the top 10 coaches, and he wasn't in there. I wonder if Bill Belichick and Chris Collinsworth said, no, those voters would redo it now.
I think you have to.
But the job that he has done, and, for all the talk about let's hire these young, up-and-coming guys in his mid-60s, and he's still getting it done.
Yeah, and you got to wonder how much he's got left in the tank, but I think it's a marriage they want to keep together, Mahomes and him. And
why wouldn't you if you're still having fun and you got Mahomes and he's only 28 years old?
Right, and that's the crazy thing. You feel like he's been in the league for so long, but he's only 28.
Yeah.
I mean, potential of, let's say he plays till 40, 12 more years, and at this level.
I feel like Mahomes is on that path. I'm not ready to say it yet, but I know everybody's ready to say GOAT and on greatest of all time and that. And for some people who may not want to put Brady as that, I think their main argument is, well, was he the most talented quarterback? And he wasn't the most talented quarterback. He's got the rings, but skill-wise, was he the most talented? Probably not.
No.
Whereas Mahomes, if he gets those rings, he's got the talent. I think he's trending in that direction where people are going to be more willing to say he could be the GOAT if he gets a couple more.
Yeah.
But he's more talented than Brady, if that kind of makes sense, where people are like, okay, yeah, we can see that one.
Because it's the argument we had with Brady and the guy who was at the game last night, Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Because it was Montana for the longest time, especially when it comes to Super Bowls.
Right.
Montana was the greatest of all time when it came to Super Bowls. But now Brady, obviously with the amount of rings, surpasses him. I still love Joe Montana. He's always going to be one of my favorites, but I can understand where you got to put Brady above him now.
Right.
Mahomes is right there catching up.
Yeah.
And Mahomes gets another one that's 4.
Dude, he's got more. I didn't realize this till I saw this morning. He's already got the 3rd most postseason wins as a quarterback.
Oh, I believe it. Because
he passed Manning. That to me is like the one name that's like, he passed Manning already.
Yeah.
Brady, he's one away from tying Montana and Patrick Mahomes. That's unreal.
Then Brady's got like a 20 more than everyone.
Yeah, he's like at 35, I think, or something like that. So
that's just how great that team has been every year. Even not making the Super Bowl that one year.
Yep,
still made a run.
Losing to Brady.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know how.
Maybe that's what Brady needs to come back to stop Mahomes.
I mean, Mahomes could retire right now. Hall of Fame quarterback.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
It's crazy, and I think Andy Reid solidified his name in the Hall of Fame. He probably did last year, honestly.
Yeah,
but now he's all like you said. They were talking about Mount Rushmore during the game. He's almost up there now for Super Bowl.
Yeah, because you talk about if you just want to do Super Bowls and not NFL championships, titles on there. I mean, you got Belichick, you got Chuck Noll's got 4, Bill Walsh has 3, Joe Gibbs has 3. You're getting into that equation over there. So
Shula,
Shula's got 2. We didn't say Lombardi.
Yep.
Yeah. 2. He's got in there
but
too.
Andy Reid's out. I mean, there now. He's there. He's in that upper echelon.
I'd say top 10. I don't know if I'm putting him top 5 yet. I still love my old school stuff on there.
Yeah.
But he gets one more. I think you make the case for that.
I mean, the fact that we went with him and Belichick are going to be in the same era.
Yeah.
And for both of them to have this kind of success.
Yeah.
And the first repeat winner in 20 years since Belichick's Brady's Patriots.
Since Belichick's Brady's beat Andy Reid's Eagles.
It all comes full circle, doesn't it?
Right? So I always know, you kind of wonder, not to go way back, but you kind of wonder if, hey, when Mike Holmgren left Green Bay and Andy Reid was still around, if Andy Reid would have taken the Packers job.
It could have been
how history would have been a little different, maybe.
Well, I think Bears fans are wondering when they hired Trestman. That was the same offseason.
Yep. Yeah.
They would have made a harder push for Andy Reid. How things would be different in Chicago right now.
Yeah. Man, a lot of what ifs you can
that's what football is all about. It's always just one little, all the teams that didn't take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
How they're kicking themselves too.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah. Overall, it was a solid game. But you're right. I mean, the first 3 quarters was like because I even made the comment. I'm like, okay, I want this to be a little bit more entertaining.
Oh, the first half was about as of a snoozer of a first half.
Yeah.
I mean, I was. The kids weren't the commercial. If it wasn't for the commercials being pretty much all new.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't know how many people would have. Didn't lose interest at some point. And then the Phoenix, the waste management was going on at that time. So I'm like pulling up on my phone trying to see who wins the playoffs there too. So
Puppy Bowl might have been a little bit more exciting than that first half. We watched the whole Puppy Bowl.
There you go.
That was high scoring affair over there. But no, it was, Spags. I fully believe Spags, if he was, not saying this is right or wrong, if he was like 10, 15 years younger, you'd be talking about him as getting a head coaching job, I think.
Yeah. I would feel like he's the guy who's going to take over if Andy Reid chooses to step away at some point.
Yeah.
At this point, he's the guy who just steps in there and becomes the head coach.
Because last year it was a bunch of rookies on that defense.
Yeah.
This is the scary part, is that it was the defense this year for Kansas City.
Yeah, it was Chris Jones and all these young guys.
Yeah. And Leo Chanel,
who had some big plays.
Yeah.
Hats off to Grantsburg's very own.
Exactly. Nick Bolton's a second-year guy. They had all these young guys, and they got better this year, and they're not going anywhere. It's like you already got your quarterback, so it's like that's the scary part. Harbaugh, you're our only hope to end the Chiefs dynasty right now with the Chargers. So that's, I don't know. We're going to get a Chiefs and Chargers season opener.
That'll be a good rating.
Harbaugh to bring in, and the Chiefs with why not? Right?
The hype behind Harbaugh is going to be crazy this year, and it's LA. I feel like now that it's not San Diego with that team. If it was San Diego, he might be a little less on the radar, but it's LA.
It's LA now, baby.
Just bright lights, big city.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, no, it's what the job Spags is the only coordinator, I think, with 4 Super Bowl rings now, I think they said, offense or defense. I think we've talked about before, some guys are just better as that coordinator, and he's excelling at it. That's another guy. Again, a little bit older, but everybody talks about the young and up-and-coming guys. Guys getting it done with young dudes.
If you had the choice, though, let's say you were the Commanders there, would you have taken Quinn or Spagnuolo if Spagnuolo would have been available?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
On a surface, because again, it goes, is Spags just a better corner? And I'm not trying to let the Rams thing pollute, because the Rams are just a horrible situation to begin with. Yeah. Over there, 2011, that era there.
During the whole, we don't even want to be here.
I think if you go based off of the last few years' resume, Spags got the better resume, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so too. But I think Kansas City's just trying to hold on to him at this point as long as they can, and no one wanted him this year. Yeah. They're gladly to have him come back next year and lead that defense. So
they're not losing anybody on that coaching staff.
No.
It's like,
and they might be, who knows, Eric Bieniemy
probably gonna come back as a consultant. He helped them apparently prepare for the Ravens playoff game.
Right. So there you go. I mean, they're probably gonna be stronger next year.
Is Andy Reid kind of like Belichick? Because you talk about coaching trees, and everybody's like geeking out about the Shanahan coaching tree. Andy Reid's got Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy to come off his tree. I guess John Gruden. You kind of count John Gruden because Gruden was over in Philly.
Yes, when he was in Philly.
Yeah, but
I think you get the one thing is, like, to kind of wrap this up, is the guys come back. That just tells you how good that staff is, and it's very much that's how the Patriots were.
Yeah,
the guy didn't find success. They came back to Belichick and he gave him a spot there.
Yep.
Just makes them stronger.
Yep. All right, Justice. Appreciate you stopping by, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your day. And you're going to try to get the courses open yet?
I think they're done now.
Done now? Okay.
I better not.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Sounds good. Have a good week.
Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Third and final hour kicking off on this Monday morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up this hour, we'll get back to some more hoops talk here. We got the Badgers. What the heck is going on with this Badger basketball team? Bucks are also back in action tonight. Just a couple more games here before the All-Star break, which happens to be coming up this weekend. But it's a tough test for the Bucks tonight as they take on the Denver Nuggets. Also, we got a big game for the Timberwolves. Any Timberwolves fans out there? Huge game going up against the Clippers. Timberwolves holding on to just half game lead, ahead of the Clippers, ahead of the Nuggets, and ahead of OKC for first place in the Western Conference. So, got quite the race going on over there in the Western Conference in the Timberwolves. So we'll touch on some hoops chats coming up in just a little bit. We've got a few texts to catch up on the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line here. We've got, let me bring it up. David is saying for the Super Bowl last night, kind of a clunker for the first 80% of the game. But after that, it was pretty enjoyable to see the mad dash to try to win it in regulation and then the sudden death overtime from last night. Overall, I enjoyed the game. We've got Eric also saying, I thought it was a nice defensive battle throughout. Yes, there was some sloppy plays and such, but overall, a solid Super Bowl. Glad it just wasn't a blowout for either team. Another texter here saying, we've got the Chiefs are the next dynasty. Don't expect them to go away anytime soon. And then we've got, what is this? Patrick. Patrick is saying, I don't know if it's Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick is saying that Andy Reid has vaulted himself into a top 10 head coach of all time. Question for you, is he top 5? And if so, or if not, who is your top 5 NFL coaches of all time? All right. Let's do this then, I guess. So let me go back a few years here first, just to kind of give you a base. People a lot smarter than me, a lot smarter than a lot of us out here. If you go back to when they did it was the 100th anniversary, and how many years ago was this? Just not that long ago, a few years ago. They did their 100th team, right? They selected a 100th team, not the 100 best players or anything like that, the 100th anniversary team. So they had 10 coaches on this thing too. And they didn't rank them or anything like that. But, it was 2019. Yeah, 2019. End of 2019 they did this. So about 4 years ago. These were their top 10 coaches at that time. We've got, this was it, Bill Belichick, Paul Brown, Joe Gibbs, George Halas, Curly Lambeau, Tom Landry, Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, Don Shula, and Bill Walsh. Again, they didn't rank them. They didn't put it 1 through 10 or anything like that. But this was back in 2019, the end of 2019. Has Andy Reid put himself into that top 10? Has he put himself in the top 5? Because now he's got 3 Super Bowl titles. Joins the likes of, Bill Walsh has got 3. We know Bill Belichick's got 6. We know Chuck Noll's got 4. Joe Gibbs has 3. You go a little bit older with some of the other coaches out there. Before they were Super Bowls, they were titles, NFL titles, right? Go that route. NFL champions. Curly Lambeau was a 6-time NFL champion. Vince Lombardi's got a couple Super Bowls, but 5 total championships on there. So if I were to create my top 5, first of all, I think Andy Reid's solidified himself as a top 10. He's solidified himself as a top 10. Now, if we're using this top 10 list, who would I bump out of there? Ooh, that's tough, because once you put somebody in there, who else do you put in there? Or who do you take out at that point? But for me, maybe I'd bump out Tom Landry at that point in time. Anyways, for me, my top 5, I think I would have to go Lombardi, Belichick. I'm going to go Bill Walsh. I'm going to go Joe Gibbs. And I've really kind of embraced Joe Gibbs. I think Joe Gibbs kind of gets overlooked quite a bit in terms of the job he did during his time with Washington as head coach. Because I don't know if we're ever going to see this again. I don't think we're going to see a coach that with the same team, lead his team to 3 Super Bowl titles with 3 different starting quarterbacks. I don't know if we're going to see that again. We'll see, maybe some coaches win Super Bowls with different teams and different quarterbacks that way, but Joe Gibbs doing it with the same team and during that stretch with 3 different quarterbacks, I think is so impressive, especially when you can compare it to today's game, that I don't know if we're going to see that again. And over the last few years, I've been one of those. I think I kind of overlooked Joe Gibbs for the longest time. So I'd put him in there. And the big reason being because of what he did with the quarterbacks. And then at number 5 for me, now do you put Reed there? Do you put, Don Shula, who's got the most wins of all time? He's a 2-time Super Bowl champ. Do you put Chuck Noll, who's got 4 Super Bowls in there? Do you go older school, George Halas, who's got 6 NFL championships? Curly Lambeau, 6 NFL championships. I'm high. I'm a big history guy. I'm very high on Paul Brown. Paul Brown's a 3-time NFL champion. If you know your history about Paul Brown and kind of the innovative stuff he has done that coaches still do to this day, that teams still do to this day, Paul Brown is definitely, I think, for today's generation or people around, they may not realize just how dang good and how innovative Paul Brown was as a coach back in his day. He was freaking awesome. He was awesome. So I think I might go Paul Brown at 5. But, I mean, if you want to say Chuck Noll with 4 championships, I ain't going to argue with you. You want to go Andy Reid with 3, I ain't going to argue with you. Don Shula, I ain't going to argue with you. I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. But that would probably be my 5 to answer the question. Lombardi, Belichick, Walsh, Gibbs, and Paul Brown. But man, that's the tough part, is leaving out guys like Shula and Halas and Chuck Noll, for crying out loud, the guy who's got 4 Super Bowl titles. I mean, it's tough. But that's and it's going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different one out there. It's an opinion. It's not going to get in a debate about it or anything like that. But man, I do think Andy Reid's top 10. I think he's easily in the top 10 there, but top 5, not quite, just on the outside looking in. Just on the outside looking in. He gets one more, he's solidified himself as a top 5. Then I think he's solidified himself as a top 5 coach of all time. But what a change in his career, legacy defined. I know you look at the first part of his career, coaching career, the first chapter, should we call it, or the first stage, whatever the heck we want to call it. Philadelphia got to the Super Bowl one time, made a few NFC Championship games, finally got it with Donovan and T.O., that group. Remember, was it Johnson as defensive coordinator? Remember the Johnson defense for how many years over there? But fell to Belichick and the Patriots. Last time the team went back-to-back before the Chiefs was that Patriots team there. Just couldn't get over the hump there. Goes on to Kansas City. Doesn't take a year off. goes on to Kansas City and just kind of like really turns around his career. Wasn't a Hall of Fame coach before he got to Kansas City. Wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame. And then just instantly like turns his career around a little bit. And does it help to be paired up with Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely it does. But again, I think for every good coach, there's a good quarterback. For those championships, it's a pairing. To win, I think you got to have both in a lot of cases. I don't knock each other. I don't knock Patrick Mahomes because he had Andy Reid. I don't knock Andy Reid because he's had Patrick Mahomes that much. But to see this completely change the second chapter of his coaching career, it's remarkable. 4 appearances, 3 wins. And you know what? There's a darn good chance that he might win at least another one or maybe even a couple more at this rate. It's awesome. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. He's definitely going to have a bust now in the Hall of Fame. Easily going to have one. It's just, to me, it's such a cool story. And whenever Andy Reid's career is over with, I hope somebody writes that biography because I think it's just a fantastic story. So, what else do we got over here? We got Timmy saying great game, but what was up with the KC Center having low snaps on 75% of the shotgun alignments? Was it Humphrey over there? Yeah, not sure over there. Not sure. I don't know what you're referring to with this. Measure them like a golf score. 3 or 4 of them are tied at 4th place. And if that's yours, this is my list. So that's my top 5. I'm not going to get into a debate about who top 5. It's just my opinion who the top 5 are right now. And right now it's Lombardi, it's Belichick, it's Bill Walsh, it's Joe Gibbs, and then I'm going Paul Brown. But Andy Reid would get top 5 if he gets one more in there. Just mine. So, okay. Tell you what, let's take a quick break here. We'll get back to some more hoops talk here. What's going on with the Badgers? What the heck is going on with this Badger basketball team right now? Anybody got an idea? Anybody can point their finger on what the one thing is? I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a bunch of few things that are just kind of pointing their ugly head right now. But it ain't good. It's not good right now for the Badgers as they start to wrap up their regular season. It ain't good. So what are your thoughts? All right, on this Badger basketball team. Hit me up, 715-830-1912. It's a quick text. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We're always looking to save a little money in our pockets, but we still need our essentials like the grocery items. So, how do you save money while also getting what you need for you and your family? Well, that's easy. That's Hy-Vee Perks. If you shop at Hy-Vee, you're already getting a great deal on quality items throughout the store. But now you can save more money with Hy-Vee Perks on different items each week. And you can also save some money at the gas pump with your Hy-Vee Perks. Who doesn't want to save a little extra money at the gas pump these days? Saving some money is easy if you shop at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. So take advantage of these awesome deals and sales and stop on over at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire today. Should also mention, I'm sure this is going to piss off a lot of Packers fans and annoy them, but Jimmy Leonard is back in the NFL. He is reportedly going to be hired to be the secondary coach for the Denver Broncos, where apparently he will also get the title as defensive pass game coordinator. So saw that pop up yesterday, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm sure there's going to be some fans that are going to be irritated with that Green Bay didn't get him to coach secondaries or whatever have you. So don't bother me right now. It is what it is at this point. So, but just pass along, Jimmy Leonard is back in the NFL. He's going to be with the Denver Broncos, coaching the secondary over there. In a segment that I like to do on Mondays, kind of like, are you serious? Kind of some weird numbers or awesome numbers or eye-popping numbers or kind of like a did you know segment. You know, for all the talk we've been talking about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and such, let's give a little love to the Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butker. He had a fantastic season. Regular season, postseason. These are his final numbers from this year. 44 of 46 on all field goals. 15 of 15 on field goals of 40-plus yards. 7 of 7 on field goals of 50-plus yards. Perfect on extra points. 46 of 46. Longest field goal in Super Bowl history. Did it yesterday. 57. 2 field goals from 50-plus yards in the Super Bowl. What a fantastic season from Harrison, kicker for the Chiefs. Which, if you're a Packers fan, you're probably saying, why can't we get a kicker like that? Hopefully, who knows if he will be next year, but hopefully Anders Carlson can put up numbers like that. But those are fantastic numbers. Fantastic numbers from Harrison Butker. So, just throwing that out there. Give a little love to the kicking game, to the kicker over there. All right. Back to some hoops chat here for a little bit. We got the Bucks in action tonight. Just a couple more games before the All-Star break here, but got a couple of tough games coming up here for the Bucks. They finally picked up a win, ended their little losing schneid after they picked up a win against the, let's just call it what they are, an inferior Charlotte Hornets team on Friday. They took care of business. They got it done like they were supposed to. I think if they would have lost that game, you'd have a lot of people saying, what in the world is going on with Bucks and Doc Rivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they took care of business. Comfortable win. Got Patrick Beverley some action in that game. Now, a little bit of a tougher test here tonight. We don't know, first off, we don't know any updates on Chris Middleton other than Doc Rivers saying the other day it's a bad ankle sprain, which makes you wonder, high ankle sprain going to be out here a little bit. Maybe after the All-Star break, we'll get a better sense of things going on here. Hopefully nothing too long. But going to have another tough test tonight. Obviously, with Denver coming to town. Damian did return to the lineup for Friday, so he should be good to go for tonight's game, I would think. But when I look at this, I think now, whether it's going to be after the All-Star break, whether we're going to start to see it in these final 3 games before the All-Star break, I want to see now the Bucks kind of get into a rotation, kind of get into a rhythm a little bit. What's this rotation going to look like? How involved is Patrick? I think Patrick Beverley is going to have a big role on this team. And I kind of saw some very small glimpses of that in the game on Friday. We know he's brought in for defensive purposes. That's his main role. He's going to be that irritating defender for other teams. He embraces that. He understands that role. Doc's got a guy in that he's very familiar with. They understand each other. But now I think we want to start to see, okay, pieces are in place. John Horst did admit that they're still kind of tinkering with the offense or with the roster here a little bit, kind of insinuating buyout market and such. But I think now we've got to start seeing a rotation, start to see some flow with this team. And Bobby Portis had himself a really good game Friday against the Hornets. Coming off the bench, 21 minutes, 18 points for Bobby Portis. And when you look at some of his games prior to that, Minnesota, he had 12, okay? But 5 against Phoenix in 31 minutes play. His play's been was a little bit down. Was a little bit down. I should say maybe a little inconsistent. But now that his name is maybe being not mentioned in trade rumors again, his name was all over the place. Could he be traded? Will the Bucks move him to bring in some other help? I don't know if this was a distraction, if it was something he was thinking about. He's probably going to say no, but I mean, come on, we're all human. Sometimes we just let it kind of creep into our minds and such. But I want to see now Bobby Portis be that sixth man off the bench, be a consistent guy off the bench. That guy that we kind of saw last year, right? That guy that was in the running for sixth man of the year. And when you look at his numbers this year, they've kind of been all over the place in terms of offensive production. Like in November, for example, he finished off the month averaging 10.8 points per game. Bounced back and had a solid December, 15 points per game. Then January went back down to 11. And so far now in February, he's at about 15 points per game. Kind of seen a little bit up and down. So I want to see Bobby Portis now kind of like, okay, your name's not getting thrown out there. You're not going to be on the move. You're not going to be traded. You're part of this team. For this team to have success, Portis has got to be that one of those main guys coming off the bench here and being an offensive contributor. I'm curious to see where AJ Green fits in the equation. Because you're looking at some of the minutes and some of the production that AJ Green has been going out there. The last 4 games, AJ Green has played double-digit minutes for Doc Rivers. And the only game in the month of February he didn't have double digits was Dallas back on February 3rd. But I'm curious to see if he's going to get maybe a little bit of a bigger role because his increase since Doc has been there. We knew that game against Minnesota where he was on fire from 7 of 8. He finished that game with 27 points. He was just 1 of 9 in Charlotte. But I wonder, is he going to kind of develop a little bit of a bigger role whenever Doc gets that rotation figured out? Or does Doc have a shorter bench? I don't know if he can afford to really have a shorter bench at this point in time because I think once the playoffs kick in, it's going to figure out your team in that before the court bench right now. But one player I'm kind of genuinely curious to see how his minutes are going to work out and if he's going to have a bigger role is going to be this kid from Northern Iowa. I mean, Portis is going to get his own. Crowder's going to get his own. Patrick Beverly. Robin Lopez being shipped off. Portis is kind of like the main backup big man. I don't know, buyout market, what the Bucks are going to kind of look at, and maybe they bring in somebody over there. But, I think now I want to see this rotation start to kind of, get itself figured out, get into a groove, and let's start to build some momentum. Let's start to figure some stuff out now. After that All-Star break, we're about 65% done with the regular season right now for the Bucks. Believe it or not, we're about 65%. So after that All-Star game, after the All-Star break, you're almost a little bit more, but you've got a little over a quarter left of the season. This is the part. That's the point in time now, where I want to see stuff to start really kind of gel and get going here for the Bucks. If they want to make a deep postseason run and they want to compete for a championship, after that All-Star break, that's when they got to start to kick it in and start to get that momentum, start to play as a team, start to understand each other, coaching, players, this, that, the other thing. That's when it's all got to start to get going here. Going to be a tough test, though, tonight going up against Denver. Right now, we'll make our picks here in a little bit. Bucks are favored by 1.5. I'm sure home court advantage with all that being said, but Bucks are favored by 1.5 at this point in time. Flip side, this Badger basketball team. I don't think it's one thing that's going on with this Badger team. It wasn't that long ago. It was a week and a half ago. Hey, they're ranked 6th. They're playing some good hoops. AJ Storr looks phenomenal. A lot of positive stuff. Beginning of the season, bench was actually producing. But it's like the second half of the Nebraska game, like Nebraska broke them a little bit or something changed since then. And I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a few things that are just kind of combining to cause this main issue right now with the Badgers. Now on a 4-game losing streak. Stephen Krall right now is not playing good hoops. And I feel like is it he's losing some confidence, or his confidence is suffering right now. I mean, you got a big man, you got a 7-footer. I know he's not the biggest 7-footer out there, but you got a 7-footer who, to me, at least offensively, is not playing with a lot of confidence right now. In these last 4 games, he has failed to score in double digits. He had 1 point against Nebraska. 3 against Michigan. When Wisconsin was playing really well, he was a double-figure scoring in 13 games. Greg Gard and his coaching staff, Krabenhoff, whoever, they have got to install some confidence in Steven right now. He's getting it done with boards. I mean, he had 13 boards the other day. But offensively, he's got to gain some more confidence. They got to play inside. They got to feed him down low. Focus on that. Start to get him some easy hoops. Get that confidence back. You look at 3-point shooting too, and it's been bleh. I mean, they weren't like world beaters beforehand, but you look at this stretch. You look at this stretch right now, Wisconsin, 26% from 3. They have been awful at shooting the 3 as of late. They weren't a great 3-point shooting team to begin with, but and especially if you're not feeding your big guy down low and you're chucking up some 3-pointers out there, you had those two, and it's not that hard to see why you're probably struggling to win some games here. But goodness gracious. And when you look at the game against Rutgers, you had Connor coming off the bench, Connor Esigian, and he had himself a game. Over 20 points coming off the bench. And before that game, you could point to, and you probably still could, but before that game, you could point to like bench production for the Badgers, not as good as it was at the beginning of the year either. And you look at some of those losses, and you're like, dang, did anybody on that bench score? Anybody? Well, Connor comes in against Rutgers, 15 points in 24 minutes. But you look at what he was doing beforehand. Michigan played 10 minutes, 0 points. 12 minutes against Purdue, 6 points. Nebraska, 4 minutes, 3 points. Michigan State, 6 minutes, 8 points. I know he was a little bit banged up earlier, but you kind of have to wonder now, do you unleash him here a little bit? If he's healthy, I mean, he played 24 minutes the other day. I think he's healthy enough. Do you unleash him? You look at the numbers that Connor put up last year compared to this year. Last year, he was averaging 11.7. This year, he's averaging 3.9. Minutes, it's a bigger discrepancy. Last year, 27.4. This year, 8.1. They've got to get some consistency off the bench. And if Connor's that guy, or, I know Blackwell's a little bit banged up. They're freshmen that they're excited about. He didn't play in the game. Get him healthy, get him back. But between those two, you've got to get better bench production. I mean, scoring for this Badger team. A team in the beginning part of the season, the most part of the season, this was a team that was scoring in the 80s, 70s. It's like, okay, statistically, it was Greg Gard's best offensive team, offensive efficiency. But you look at these last few games, it's like, what the heck? 56 against Rutgers? Yuck. I think it's a lot of different things just kind of combining into one. But with just 7 games left to go here in the regular season, they're tied now with Northwestern for 3rd in the conference. You still got Purdue and you still got Illinois on your schedule. You got to figure it out. You got to start to get that momentum back. Right now, they don't have it. They don't have any momentum. You got to start off games hot. You got to get this thing going. That game against Rutgers fell into what? Was it a 9-0 hole early? Boatload of turnovers right away. Dug themselves a hole. No momentum coming out of the gate. Got to somehow get that momentum back and start off hot. Get some confidence brewing, because you want to make a run in the tournament. You want to get back to maybe what the expectations and the talk was about this team a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago from the national peeps about, hey, look at this team. You gotta start playing some of your best basketball right now and riding that wave, riding that momentum into your conference tournament, into the NCAA tournament. Because right now, this is a team that going to lose first game or in a round of 32. A lot of ugly issues sticking up their head right now. Greg Gard's got to figure this out. Take a quick break, and we'll make some picks. Got a decent slate of some NBA games tonight. We'll make those coming up after these quick words. Time to do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. The Elbow Room located right next to the Bands. Where to maybe catch some of the hoops games, or with baseball season coming up and wanting to grab a cold one, including Man Cave Lights, head on over to the Elbow Room right next to Banbury Place again here in Eau Claire. Fine establishment over there. Really fine establishment. Let's got a couple of basketball games here to look at. Do one college game here because we've got number 4 Kansas taking on number 23 Texas Tech. Kind of an interesting game here because Texas Tech is favored by 2.5. If you look at the mothership's analytics, ESPN analytics, it favors Texas Tech slightly, but it favors 50.1 to 49.9. I'm still going to roll with the Jayhawks. I'm going to roll with the Jayhawks. Give me Kansas, even though Texas Tech is favored. Give me the Jayhawks of Kansas to win tonight. Let's move over to a couple of NBA games. This one would probably be a little bit more intriguing if Joel Embiid was playing in the game tonight. But nonetheless, we've got the Philadelphia 76ers trying to stay in the top half of the Eastern Conference right now, going up against the red-hot Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland favored by a whopping 9.5 in this game. I'm definitely rolling with Cleveland in this one. No doubt about it. And honestly, I feel like they're going to cover. I usually get nervous when it gets to some numbers like that. I know it's not double digits. It initially opened at 10.5, but I'm gonna go Cleveland, and I do think they cover in tonight's game too. So Cleveland just playing some really good basketball, and it's in Cleveland where they're 18-8 so far this season. The Timberwolves taking on the Clippers. What a race for the Western Conference, for the top seed in the Western Conference. We've got going on right now about 65% into the regular season. Right now, just again to refresh everybody's memory, Minnesota is holding on to that top spot in the Western Conference, but the Clippers are a half game back. OKC is a half game back, and the Denver Nuggets a half game back. So big time game. It's in La La Land at the Clippers, where they are 20-5 at home so far this year. Clippers are favored by 4.5. I am going to pick the Clippers. I'm going to pick the Clippers, and I do think they cover. I think they cover. So I'm going for the Timberwolves. Rooting interest, I'm going for the Timberwolves. But I'm going to roll with the Clippers right now. Nuggets taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Man. Denver is favored by 1.5, even though it is in Milwaukee. Matchup predictor actually favors the Bucks 53.6%. We know Chris Middleton's going to be out. I feel like Giannis, even though he's got a game time designation and Damian's got a game time, they're going to play, I feel like. Bucks had that win against Charlotte. Inferior opponent, but at least they kind of dominated that one. Bucks need a good win. They need a good win here. You know what? Screw it. Bucks win tonight. How about that? I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I know we're paying a lot of attention on the Doc Rivers era. They need a good win. They need a win to feel really good about themselves. Get it tonight against Denver. Get it tonight. It starts tonight. This whole gelling process, it starts tonight. Pick up this win against the defending champs. You're 22-6 at home. You're playing a little down right now. Turn it around starting tonight. Pick it up. They get the W. That's my picks and predicts for this morning. All right. Ooh. Saw Mark Tauscher just tweet this out. How different would Patrick Mahomes' career arc would be had the Bears drafted him instead of Kansas City? That's always a big what if question. Obviously, we will never ever know the answer. And that's again where I go and to my statement of, or my belief, I should say, of all good quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. Not every system quarterback is a good quarterback, but all good quarterbacks, I think, have, kind of developed into great quarterbacks if they're a system quarterback. Like, I feel like Patrick Mahomes would be a decent quarterback, a good quarterback elsewhere, but he's a great quarterback because of the system he's in with Andy Reid. I don't think he's got the championships or all the numbers that he has now if he were in Chicago. And a lot of that is because of the system and such. Things might have changed. Maybe, Matt Nagy, over there too. Maybe a little bit different. Because that would have been that correlated, right? That time frame. Somewhere around, I believe so. I have to double check that. I don't think Patrick Mahomes, though, would have the numbers or the amount of championships he has right now if he was in Chicago. I and that's not hating on the Bears. That's not hating on Chicago. I just think Patrick Mahomes went into a really good situation with a really good coach. That factors in a lot. It factors so much into players' success for their careers that I don't think a lot of people kind of think about at times, or maybe overlook the fact. Going into a really good situation, going into a stable franchise, into a really good coach, that helps out these players' careers. And Patrick Mahomes going to Andy Reid, it was just it's a perfect match. It was a perfect match then. It's a perfect match to this day yet. Worked out great for both. And they're maximizing it right now, which they should be. They absolutely should be. I just hope Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur can do the same thing. If you want a little fun nugget, Packers fans, the most points that Kansas City's defense gave up all season long, Green Bay. It doesn't really mean anything right now, but Green Bay. It's one of those weird numbers because what was it like when we talked about it earlier? It was Joe Barry's numbers when he's like a defensive coordinator against or Patrick Mahomes' numbers against Joe Barry's not good. Like Joe Barry apparently has some secret magic whatever against Joe Barry, but does it matter at this point in time? No, it doesn't matter. But I guess it's something like, hey, at least Green Bay's got something there. They put up the most points against Kansas City this year. If you're into that stuff, but how about everybody's kind of looking ahead to next year, next season, odds, that sort of stuff. You want to know what Jordan Love is in terms of odds to win the MVP coming in the next year? Best. Jordan Love's 7th batter now. Number 1's Patrick. Number 2 is Josh Allen. Number 3 is Joe Burrow. 4 is C.J. Stroud. 5, 6, Justin Herbert, and then Jordan Love. Jordan Love's ahead of Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Brock Purdy. So a lot of expectations going into this season, as we know this next coming up here with Jordan Love. No doubt. Because he was on Radio Row on Friday, and he was doing some. I know. What was it? He was asked the top 5 defenses he played this year, and I think he said Kansas City was number 1. Threw in Kansas City, threw in San Fran, he threw in Minnesota because of all the different looks and confusing that. He did throw in Detroit in there, and I'm trying to remember who the 5th one is off the top of my head because I just thought of this. I think he was actually talking to Micah Parsons, and it wasn't the Cowboys. I know he didn't mention the Cowboys on there, but so all right. Coming up tomorrow, quick preview of what we're going to do tomorrow. So tomorrow, it is the Ray's Place Cut of the Mustard. We started that up last week. Okay. Who cut the mustard? Who didn't cut the mustard? Kind of like your studs and duds that we usually do, or we usually did on Mondays. Switching it over to Tuesdays. So who cut the mustard? Who didn't? Also, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So if anything's kind of grinding your gears, you can let us know. But think about that for tomorrow. All right. Think about that for tomorrow. We'll talk some Bucks, hopefully with the W tonight, and then look ahead to the Badger game. Hey, at least Marquette, they won over the weekend against St. John's. They may be our best bet for the state of Wisconsin for the tournament to have a state team advance, but they've got a huge game coming up on Saturday. Marquette versus number 1 UConn. They do have Butler tomorrow, so don't overlook Butler, Marquette. But wow, you want to talk about a big-time game going up against the defending champs. They've got UConn 2 more times yet, actually, this year. This Saturday, and then for the second to last game, UConn comes to Milwaukee. So that should be an insane environment over there, too. So we're going to talk plenty of Badgers, too, with RJ Cardinal tomorrow. Definitely hit up, basketball and such, but we've got hockey to talk about with RJ. So we'll get to that at about 8:20 or so. Tomorrow with Mr. RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison. When you look at, Badger hockey, swept Notre Dame, right? You're looking at both these programs, hopefully some deep postseason runs for both the Badger men's and women's hockey teams. That's kind of where the trend is going right now for this basketball team. You're hoping that Badger men's hockey and Badger women's hockey can have some deep postseason runs here, and who knows? Can they get a chance? Shut off with a national championship. Looking at the schedule here for Badger men's hockey, they've got they complete that sweep of Notre Dame. They've got Ohio State coming up this weekend in Columbus. Then they're at Penn State, and then they finish up at the Kohl Center with that big series going up against Michigan State. And then on the women's side, they've got Minnesota coming up this weekend. Women's team just dominated Bemidji State over the weekend. First game was 10-0. Then they followed up with a 7-0 victory. So they've got Minnesota, and then they finish up the following week. Now, their next 4 games are all in Madison. So Minnesota this weekend, then Ohio State. Then they start the first round of their postseason the beginning of March there, too. So maybe we'll get some national champions when it comes to at least the Badger hockey teams there. All right, that's going to do it for us. DP and the Danuts, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday. Let's do this again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. I'll talk to you all then.